Welcome to Life Design Diaries. This episode is a little bit different to our normal episodes. It's a design drop, and it's going to be a shorter format where we focus on some of the more tangible actions or learnings that we've had in recent times. Part of the reason we've designed this life of travelling is so that we can get more experience and a different perspective on life. And so in these short episodes, we really want to capture some of the key things that we've learned and share those with you. We hope you enjoy. We want to share with you a story that happened on our last night in Bali. And it was a very, very quick incident that not only changed our entire perspective of life, really, actually re-emphasized some of the lessons that we thought we'd learned throughout our time in Bali. We were that evening actually talking about those lessons, but this incident really, really brought that home and just confirmed and highlighted them. So we wanted to share them with you.
Yeah, so we really wanted to make the most out of our last day in Bali. We had an amazing time at an awesome place called Junglefish. You should definitely check it out if you go.
Yeah.
And we were actually driving to meet a family friend. We were about 2 minutes away from the restaurant. If anybody has been to Bali or any similar country, you'll know that it's chaos on the road. The infrastructure is really poor. People ditch their bikes all over the place. So Ross is driving. It's lots of traffic going on, very busy. I'm on the back. And
so driving on a moped.
Yeah, driving on a moped. So Ross is going to overtake a car, which is totally normal. Everyone is weaving in and out of the traffic. So Paul's left, not going particularly fast, when we clip a bike that is parked on the road but stuck out a little bit. So my toes, are what come in between our bike and an exhaust of another bike, we think. So hop off the bike, there's lots of blood everywhere, not really sure to the extent of the damage. A passing doctor helps us out and says you need to get to accident and emergency as soon as possible. So we end up at a clinic, which there's lots of them kind of on the side of the road. Walk in, get seen to really quickly. We laugh now, but the doctor looked at my foot immediately and said, "I need to rip the nail off," and we were horrified. So lie down.
Great first thing for them to say.
Yeah, I know. It was not even how she said it. It was how she said it and the words she decided to choose. Anyway. So rash. So lie down, kind of just expecting it to be bandaged up and off we go. So...
Let's just highlight, it was a deep cut. It was clear that it was a deep cut. Before, it was on the left foot, not the big toe, one in, and it was just before the nail, and it was definitely a big cut. But there was so much blood,
it really
as you
makes
said,
me
that
cringe.
we couldn't quite see.
So a couple of anaesthetic jabs later, she then tells us that she can see some bone. It doesn't look too intact, so she can't touch it. And that we need to go to the nearby public hospital, which was about an hour away. So, not only was it a pretty, it got serious very quickly, but you also feel incredibly alone very quickly. Now, luckily, we had each other, and Ross was on the phone to our insurance, and then we were looking at the options for the hospitals and whether we should go to a private one or not. But we were so lost in translation. We were trying to get hold of the UK. You become incredibly vulnerable very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And a lot of people have sort of asked throughout these podcasts how, what the lifestyle is like. What does day to day look like? And I think if everything's going rosy whilst you're traveling, then, it's clearly fine and good. But it was just amazing how as soon as it was like it happened in a second, and this incident just wiped away all of that comfort and just really highlighted just how vulnerable and lonely you are in a different country.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a toe. It's not like a leg or it's exactly. Like a very tiny thing, really. So we contact our host, who is a Balinese gentleman called Dewa, who said, "I need to be with you." he was with his wife, and he said, I just need to be there. If you're staying in my house, you're my family. And he's a fantastic guy. So he came straight to us and took us to the public hospital. So an hour's drive later, we get to the hospital. We pull up at the entrance, and they put me on a trolley, which, I've never broken any bones. I've been incredibly fortunate never to hurt myself at all. I ever really need to go to hospital. So I'm put on a trolley, which was odd to begin with. It's filthy.
'Cause you could walk.
I could walk, yeah. And we get wheeled into accident and emergency. Now, Bali is a beautiful country, but it's still very much developing, and the hospital was of a very poor standard. We get wheeled into the A&E department, and there are hundreds of people in there. It's not like in the UK where you wait, you're triaged and you go back into the waiting room, and
nice little environment,
and you're not exposed to anybody else's illnesses really. But actually, in the bed opposite us, there is a lady who is being resuscitated, and we watch her die. There is another lady a few beds down that there were 10 people kind of on the floor around her, and then she passes away. And the whole thing was just
surreal.
Yeah.
It was, because of the fact that there's so many people in such a small place. They've got curtains around them, but most of the curtains are open. So it's crazy how you can just see everything that's happening.
Going on, yeah. And I mean, I felt like a fraud there with my stupid toe falling off. But anyway, so amongst all of this, we are x-rayed and stuff, and it's broken, and they're very concerned that when you have an open wound, I never really knew what an open fracture was, and now it makes complete sense. It's the skin is open and you have a broken bone. So I never really put two and two together. Anyway, we were there for 7 hours, but we're not just talking about this because, oh my God, I've hurt my toe. It's more the lesson that we learnt from our host, who was with us there the entire time, and kind of his way of helping us, and some of the things that he said, which were so poignant and helped an awful lot in such a uncommon situation and place to be.
Yeah, and the first thing really was just what he kept saying was, enjoy the pain. And at the start, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would straight away hear enjoy the pain and think the guy's crazy, but essentially he just said you need to enjoy the pain and you need to accept what's going on, and he fully meant it. And this is actually a very stoic, when we looked at it, this is actually a very stoic way of thinking. And for those of you who don't know what stoicism is, it's very topical at the moment. Very trendy.
Very trendy, yeah.
There's a lot of new books coming out about it. There's a lot of podcasts about it. So I thought I would just quickly summarize what it is from page 1 of Google. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that flourished throughout the Roman and Greek world until the 3rd century AD. Essentially, it's the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. So as I said, it's quite topical at the moment to be stoic, or, just to kind of discuss that way of thinking. But we had learnt that the Balinese people are very, very stoic in everything they do. And just that time when we're going through, a traumatic time, but not just that, the entire place where we are. It was about us, but it was also about what was going on around us, I would say.
Yeah. The example he gave was, if you have a headache and you feel your head throbbing, get used to the throbbing and listen to it like it's music, and just accept that you've got a headache and move on from it, because complaining about it or, labouring on the pain or the past just makes it worse.
Yeah. And
that for us just kind of really, really made us be in the moment and just look around the room really and take it for what it was.
Yeah, and it reinforced, I would say, me personally try to live by a similar philosophy anyway.
What are you saying about me?
Andrew, but I can only really speak for myself.
Yeah.
Live by a similar philosophy in the way that, you know, regardless of what happens, my emotions are neither ridiculously high or ridiculously low. It's kind of trying to stay stable and understand what happens. And I think bringing this into sort of life design, the first aspect to be anywhere near stoic is actually taking accountability of what's happening. Mm-hmm. You cannot have this mindset of accepting what's happening if you think of yourself as a victim, you know, depending on whatever situation. It just doesn't, the two just don't marry up. So essentially, to be a better person and kind of to live by the way that they're living, you need to take the positives out of whatever happens in life. And that, as I said, that's what we'd learned throughout our whole time there, because we, you know, spoken to Dewa many times about this. But it really, really hit home that this little incident could be seen as a negative. It could be seen as a major upset. You know, we've had to have, there is still a risk of infection. You're now hobbling around as we're recording this from Kuala Lumpur. We're here for 4 days and, you know, we can't fully explore it.
No, we've been to the hospital, 2 hospitals today to get redressed and stuff. So, but
actually, you need to take the positive in that. And for us, that means, first of all, wearing shoes when you're on the back of a bike. And all of the learnings that we had, you know, the experience for us was more than just an inconvenience. It really taught us loads that obviously we're sharing with you now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's that, you know, in a split second, everything can change. And, you know, you're really, really not invincible. So just take every moment, you know, for the best that it is, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of gratitude to come from it. It was a great testing event, I guess, because it was only a toe. It's just my toe.
My toe, the toe that taught us how to be stoic.
Yeah. And our Balinese host, kept saying as well that just everything is a lesson. Yeah. Regardless of whether something happens that's good in your life or whether something's really difficult or bad in your life, it's a lesson. And it really helps in the situation. If you're going through a struggling time at the moment in your life, if there's something that you want to happen, or you know, there's something that's happening to you, by taking accountability yourself, not seeing yourself as a victim, and then trying to take the lesson from it, it just changes the perspective of that. Essentially, if you're struggling with anything, you always look back on it positively, don't you?
Yeah.
If anything, the more you struggle, the more positively you look back on it. And that helps me whenever I'm going through a difficult time to change the perspective, because I almost can preempt what's going to happen and look at it and say, well, you know, it's just a fantastic lesson. If anyone's interested about reading more on Stoicism, you're reading a book on it at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been reading it for months now because I just keep picking it up and reading a few pages and pondering it. But it's The Art of Happiness, the Stoic. What's the actual title? It's over there.
It's called Stoicism, The Art of Happiness.
Stoicism, The Art of Happiness. Yeah, it's really, really good. It's got loads of little exercises and things like that. It just really, really, really hits home how you could be more stoic.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's something that you work towards, you know.
So the main lesson to take from this is that every single experience that you have in life, learn something from it. And reframe negative situations. Don't be a victim. Don't focus on the negative. Actually learn from it. Focus on the positive, and take accountability for your own life.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please keep your feedback coming in. We've loved hearing it so far. If you'd like to follow us visually, please jump over onto our Instagram. We give daily updates on our story, and we've got some really nice pictures of landscapes and things that we've been up to in our feed over the last couple of weeks. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please head over to iTunes to leave us a review. It means the world. So once again, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.